Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is really good to have you here with us.
Great to be here.
Today, we are doing something a little different.
Mm.
We aren't looking at, a historical event or a piece of technology. We are pulling back the curtain on something that is happening around us literally all the time.
All the time.
It's invisible, it's often completely silent, and honestly, it can be a little bit terrifying when you actually start to see the mechanics of it working in real time.
Oh, absolutely. It is one of those topics that once you understand it, once you have the vocabulary for it, you can never really unsee it.
Right.
We're looking at the machinery of human interaction today, but specifically the dark side of that machinery. We're talking about the hidden scripts that govern how people get what they want from one another.
Exactly. We all like to think we are the captains of our own ships, right? We hold the wheel, we make our own choices. We decide to buy that specific car, or we decide to date that specific person, or we decide to take that specific job offer. We feel autonomous. But the question we're tackling today is, how often are those choices actually being engineered by someone else? We're talking, of course, about psychological manipulation.
And we aren't just talking about the obvious stuff here. We're not just talking about, movie villains curling their mustaches or cult leaders or serial killers.
Though they definitely use these tools.
Oh, they use them masterfully. But what's so striking from the research stack we've pulled together for this deep dive is just how pervasive this is in the mundane.
In the everyday.
In the everyday. It's in your salary negotiation. It's in your romantic relationship. It is deeply, deeply embedded in office politics. It's everywhere.
It really is. It's in the water supply of social interaction. And our mission today is pretty specific. We want to decode the difference, the very fine line between honest persuasion, which is just, trying to convince someone of something, and underhanded control.
A critical line to draw.
We want to look at the actual tools, the specific toolkit that people use to pull these invisible strings.
And that distinction is vital.
Yeah.
Because influence is natural. I mean, we all influence each other constantly.
Sure.
If I tell you to try a new restaurant because the risotto is life-changing, I'm influencing you. If I ask you to pass the salt, I'm influencing you. But manipulation, that is a different beast entirely. It's a different species of interaction.
So let's start by defining that beast. When we looked at the psychological definition in our source material, it was pretty specific, but also a little complex. It defined manipulation as an action designed to influence or control another person, usually in an underhanded or subtle manner, to facilitate personal aims.
That's the textbook definition.
Okay.
But let's break down the key components there, because the devil is absolutely in the details.
Okay.
Underhanded or subtle. That is why it's so dangerous. If someone comes up to you in a dark alley and demands your wallet while holding a weapon, that's coercion.
Right.
It's robbery. It's terrifying, but it is honest in its intent. You know exactly what's happening. The transaction is transparent, your money or your safety.
Right. You know you're being forced. There's no illusion of choice.
Exactly. But if someone convinces you that giving them your wallet is actually a good idea, or that you're a bad person if you don't give it to them, or that they'll be heartbroken and destitute without it and it's your duty to save them, that is manipulation. It's a bypass of your defense mechanisms. It's hacking the system.
And the source mentions some specific methods that fall under this umbrella.
Yeah.
Seduction, suggestion, coercion, and even blackmail. But it seems like the defining feature isn't just the method, but the cost.
Yes. And this is the crucial nuance here, the thing that really separates it from other forms of interaction. Manipulation is generally considered dishonest because it comes at the expense of others.
That's the key phrase for me, at the expense of others.
Right. The manipulator is facilitating their own personal aims, but they aren't looking for a win-win. In a healthy negotiation, we both walk away happy. In manipulation, they are looking for a win-lose. They win, you lose. The trick, and this is the scary part, is that they often engineer it so you don't realize you're losing until it's too late.
Sometimes years later.
Sometimes years later. You wake up one day and think, how did I get here?
So it's inherently selfish.
Inherently selfish and inherently exploitative. It treats the other person not as a human being with agency, rights, and feelings, but as an object.
A resource.
A resource to be mined.
Now, speaking of mining, before we get too heavy into the psychology, I have to share this because I found it absolutely fascinating. The origin story of the word manipulation itself.
Ah, yes.
It didn't always mean mind games and emotional abuse.
No, not at all. This is a great piece of linguistic history that actually illuminates the concept perfectly.
So if we go back to 1730, manipulation was actually a technical term used in the mining industry.
In mining.
Yes, it referred to a specific method of digging ore.
Which is such a grounded physical image. It's about moving earth. It's about extracting something valuable from the ground.
Right. And it evolves from the French word manipule, which means a handful.
A handful.
It was actually used as a unit of measure for pharmacists back in the day, like, take a manipule of this herb.
So it started as a handful, literally handling raw materials with your hand.
Exactly. And then by 1828, the definition shifts slightly to mean handling or managing people. But here's the kicker. It was still somewhat neutral.
Oh, interesting.
It was about skill. It was about adroitly managing a situation. It was a compliment to be a good manipulator of affairs. But then by 1864, we get the modern, darker meaning. Managing or influencing specifically for one's own advantage.
I love that evolution. It goes from handling earth to handling medicine to handling people.
Yeah.
I think that handful root is really evocative. When you manipulate someone, psychologically speaking, you are trying to hold them in the palm of your hand. You're trying to mold them like clay or ore.
That is a creepy but perfect image.
Yeah.
You are processing them. You are extracting value from them like they are a raw material in a mine.
Precisely. You are processing them for your own gain. And that leads us directly to the core problem we face in everyday life. We know what manipulation is in theory. We just defined it. But in practice, in the real world, the line between I'm a great salesperson and I'm a manipulator can feel really, really blurry.
It really can. I mean, we all try to get our way. We all want our kids to eat their vegetables or our boss to give us a raise. So what does the research say is the core distinction? How do I know if I'm just dealing with a persuasive person or someone who is, dangerous?
It fundamentally comes down to what we call the right of rejection.
And right of rejection. Okay, let's unpack that because it sounds like a legal term, but it's actually a psychological boundary.
It is. So non-manipulative influence, healthy persuasion, always respects the individual's right to accept or reject the influence. Always. Let's say I am trying to persuade you to watch a horror movie. I know you hate them, but I think this one is high art.
Okay, a tough sell for me, but go on.
I might tell you it has great acting. I might show you the trailer. I might offer to buy the popcorn. I am making a case.
Okay, that's persuasion. You're advocating for your preference.
Yes. But if you look at me and say, no, I really don't like being scared, I'm not going, and I say, okay, fair enough, let's see a comedy instead, that was persuasion.
It's harmless.
It was harmless.
Because I had the freedom to say no without consequence.
Exactly. You were not coerced. Your autonomy was respected. The interaction was safe. You walked away unscathed. Manipulation, on the other hand, it exploits vulnerabilities to bypass that right of rejection.
It makes it difficult to say no.
It makes it psychologically costly or impossible for you to say no.
So using that same movie example, what does manipulation look like in that scenario?
Okay, manipulation would be me saying, if you don't come to this movie with me, it really proves you don't care about my interests.
No.
After everything I've done for you this week, you can't do this one thing. I guess I'll just go alone and sit there by myself and feel terrible.
Okay, I feel the difference immediately. My stomach dropped a little just hearing that.
Right. Suddenly you aren't deciding about a movie anymore. The movie is irrelevant.
No.
You are deciding about whether you are a good friend or a selfish person. I have attached a cost to your no. I have weaponized the relationship.
You've raised the stakes by exploiting my desire to be a good friend. You've hacked my empathy.
Bingo. That is exploiting a vulnerability. Your desire to be a good friend, or your fear of losing the relationship, or your fear of conflict. It's no longer about the movie, it's about leverage.
That makes so much sense. And the source also talks about the difference in goals between persuasion and manipulation.
Right. Persuasion is usually context-specific. I want you to buy this car. I want you to convert to this religion. I want you to vote for this candidate. It's moving you toward a desired action or belief.
And it's neutral.
It's viewed as neutral. It's not inherently good or bad. You can persuade someone to stop smoking, which is good. You can persuade them to start, which is bad. The tool itself is neutral.
But manipulation is viewed specifically as negative or antisocial.
Because it's about control. It creates a power imbalance. It is about subverting the other person's will. And here is a really important point from the research that often surprises people.
Okay.
Manipulative behavior is fundamentally intentional.
This is something I really wanted to dig into. Do manipulators always know they are doing it? Because I feel like sometimes people just have bad habits or they learned it from their parents,
It's a great question. According to the core definition we are looking at here, yes. The manipulator knows the consequences. They know exactly what they want out of the victim. It's calculated.
It's a strategy?
It's a strategy. Now, we will get into some exceptions later when we talk about certain personality disorders like borderline personality disorder, where it might be more of a panic reaction. But generally speaking, manipulation is a strategy. It is not an accident.
So they aren't just stumbling into it. They are playing a game of chess, and you are the pawn.
That is the perfect analogy. And to play chess, you need to understand the moves, you need a toolkit, you need to know how the knight moves and how the rook moves.
Which brings us to section 2 of our deep dive, the toolkit, the how. The source material details a really interesting study by Buss et al. That looked at how people shape their environments. Basically, they asked, how do we get people to do what we want?
This is the Buss study. It's a landmark piece of research because it categorized these behaviors scientifically. They didn't just speculate, they observed. And they identified 6 main tactics that people use to manipulate the social world around them.
6 main tactics. Let's run through them because I think listeners will recognize these immediately, either in others or uncomfortably in themselves.
Yes. The first one is charm.
Classic. The smile, the compliment, the hair toss.
But there is an interesting nuance here. The study found charm is most often used to initiate behavior.
To start something.
Exactly. If I want you to start doing something like give me a job, loan me money, or go on a date with me, I use charm.
It's the hook. You don't catch a fish with vinegar.
Exactly. It's the hook. But once you are hooked, the tactics might change. The second tactic is the silent treatment.
Oh, boy.
And the study found this is often used to stop behavior.
Oh, that is so true. If you're doing something I don't like, I just shut down, I withdraw, I stop answering texts, I become a ghost.
And think about what that does to you physiologically. We are social animals. If someone you care about goes silent, your anxiety spikes. Your cortisol goes up.
You start scrambling.
You start scrambling. What did I do? How do I fix this?
It forces me to chase you.
And it forces you to stop whatever you were doing that annoyed them. It is a punishment mechanism designed to extinguish a behavior. It is essentially shunning, which is an ancient tribal punishment.
Wow. Okay, so charm to start, silent treatment to stop. What's next?
Coercion. This is the heavy hand. Demands, criticism, yelling, threats. This is the do-it-or-else tactic. It relies on fear and exhaustion.
Simple, effective, unpleasant. Then we have reason.
Which sounds nice, right? We like reason. We consider ourselves rational beings.
That sounds rational. Let me explain why you should do this.
But reason can be weaponized. It's explaining why you should do something, often using logic to trap someone.
How so?
Like, it only makes sense that you do the dishes because I cooked, and statistically I contribute 20% more to the household income, so really it's an economic equation.
Ugh. It takes the emotion out of it to invalidate the other person's feelings. It makes the victim feel stupid for having feelings.
Exactly. It disguises control as logic. If you argue with reason, you look irrational. It's a very clever trap, often used by highly intelligent manipulators. They will debate you into submission.
Okay, what's next? Then there's regression.
This is acting childish, pouting, sulking, whining, stomping feet.
I feel like we see this in adults way more than we'd like to admit.
Absolutely. It plays on the other person's caretaking instinct. If I act like a helpless child or an upset toddler, you feel obligated to step in and fix it.
You become the parent.
You become the parent, and you give me what I want just to stop the whining.
And the last one of the big 6 is debasement.
This is lowering oneself. I'm so stupid I can't do this. Can you help me? I'm just a mess. I'd be lost without you.
Playing the victim.
Or playing incompetent. Weaponized incompetence falls under this.
Ah, yes.
If I degrade myself enough, you will take pity on me and do the work for me. Or you will refrain from criticizing me because I've already criticized myself so harshly.
It's a preemptive strike on your own character to gain sympathy or avoid responsibility.
Exactly. So those are the big 6. But the expert analysis went even deeper in a secondary study and found 12 distinct tactics, specifically in close relationships. 12. And the list gets even more specific and nuanced.
Okay, let's pick out a few of the standout ones from that list of 12. Responsibility invocation really caught my eye. It sounds like a spell from Harry Potter, but it's much nastier.
It is a powerful one. Responsibility invocation is getting someone to do something by appealing to their duty or their identity.
Give me an example of how that sounds in a relationship.
A good wife would have dinner ready.
Oof.
If you were a real professional, you wouldn't mind working this weekend without pay. A supportive friend would lend me that money.
That is heavy. It binds the request to your self-image. It's an attack on who you think you are.
It makes saying no an identity crisis. If you refuse the manipulation, you are admitting you aren't a good wife or a real professional. It's an attack on your definition of self.
Okay, then there is social comparison.
Look at how well the neighbors are doing. Their lawn looks amazing. Why doesn't our lawn look like that?
My ex never had a problem with this.
That's a brutal one. It introduces a third party to shame the victim. It leverages your insecurity and competitive nature. It tells you that you are failing compared to an arbitrary standard.
Monetary rewards is on the list too. That's a bit more straightforward. Bribery, essentially.
Simple but effective. I'll buy you that bag if you let me go on this trip.
And pleasure induction.
Ah.
Which sounds nice, but
It's basically, I'll make this fun for you if you do what I want. It's the spoonful of sugar approach.
right.
Again, it's not always malicious. Parents use this with kids all the time. But if I am only making it fun so I can get you to do something that benefits me and hurts you, it's manipulation.
And then there's hardball. The name alone tells you something.
Hardball covers threats, deception, and physical aggression. It's the nuclear option. If you leave, I'll hurt myself. If you don't sign this, I'll ruin your reputation.
I will take the kids.
Exactly. It's the most overt and aggressive form of coercion.
What's fascinating to me is how the source connects these tactics to personality types. We've talked about the big 5 personality traits on the show before. Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism.
Yes, the ocean model.
It turns out your personality might predict which weapon you choose from this toolkit.
It's the idea that people aren't passive. We select our environments, and we manipulate the people in them to fit our personality. We use the tools that feel natural to us.
It's like a carpenter using a hammer and a surgeon using a scalpel.
Perfect analogy.
So let's look at surgency, which is basically extroversion. High energy, dominant, assertive people. What do they use?
They are linked to coercion and responsibility invocation.
That makes sense. They are loud, they are out there, they demand things.
Right. They are comfortable taking up space and telling people what their duty is. They aren't afraid of a head-on collision. They use their social dominance to overwhelm.
What about agreeable people? You'd think they wouldn't manipulate. Agreeable means nice, right? It means getting along.
But they do. Everyone manipulates to some degree. They just use different tools. Agreeableness is linked to pleasure induction. They manipulate by being nice, by making things pleasant so you go along with them.
Killing them with kindness.
Literally, it's still manipulation if the goal is control, even if the method is sugar. If I am super nice to you just so you won't check my receipts, or so you'll forgive my mistake without checking the details, I am manipulating you.
And disagreeable people. Let me guess.
Coercion, no surprise there. If you are disagreeable, you don't mind the conflict. You might even enjoy it. You use the silent treatment and coercion because you don't care if you break the social bond.
Here's one that hit close to home. Conscientiousness. These are the organized, diligent people. The planners. The list makers.
They are linked to reason.
Of course they are.
They will explain to you, with a spreadsheet and a 3-point plan, exactly why you need to do what they want.
That is hard to argue with.
Which is why it's so effective. It disguises control as logic. They aren't bossing you around. They're just optimizing the workflow. They manipulate by controlling the flow of information and logic.
And lastly, emotional instability or neuroticism.
They are linked to regression. The pouting, the sulking, their emotions are volatile, so they use that volatility to control the climate of the room.
Walking on eggshells.
That's the feeling you have around this tactic. You do what they want just to keep the emotional weather calm.
It's amazing to think that our personality isn't just who we are. It's how we try to bend the world to our will.
We are all trying to shape our reality. The question is, are we respecting the people around us while we do it? Or are we treating them like tools?
So that's the academic toolkit. But let's move to section 3, pop psychology perspectives. Because some authors have really crystallized this in ways that are very recognizable in everyday life. We have George K. Simon, who wrote In Sheep's Clothing.
Yes, Simon is a classic in this field. He talks about successful manipulation. And he posits that there are 3 requirements for a manipulator to actually pull it off. It's like a recipe for control.
This list is chilling. Let's go through it.
It is. The first requirement is concealing aggressive intentions.
Appearing affable. The wolf in sheep's clothing.
Exactly. To be a successful manipulator, you cannot look like you are fighting. You have to look like a friend.
Why is that so important?
Because if I come at you with a sword, you put up a shield. If I come at you with a hug, you lower your guard. The manipulator relies on your trust.
That is terrifyingly simple. If I know you are my enemy, I can defend myself. If I think you are my ally, I'm vulnerable.
Correct. The second requirement. Knowing the victim's vulnerabilities.
You have to know where to press.
Exactly. You need to know the topography of the victim's psyche. You need to know if this person is insecure about their intelligence or desperate for approval or afraid of conflict. Once you know the button, you can push it.
So you find the bruise and you press on it.
You find the bruise and you press on it. If I know you are terrified of being called selfish, I can make you do almost anything just by hinting that you're being selfish.
And the third requirement?
Ruthlessness.
Ruthlessness. That's a strong word.
It is. You have to have no qualms about causing harm. If you have a conscience that kicks in halfway through and says, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, I'm hurting them, you will fail as a manipulator.
You have to be okay with the collateral damage.
You have to be willing to hurt the other person to get your way. You have to prioritize your win over their pain.
Simon also lists some specific techniques that fit this ruthless profile. Lying by commission versus lying by omission.
Lying by commission is the active lie. I did not eat the last cookie. Simple. Lying by omission is just not mentioning that you ate it.
That's what you don't say.
Or withholding a crucial piece of information that would change the other person's decision. It's forgetting to tell you the car has a leaky engine. It allows you to maintain plausible deniability.
And then there is denial. Just flat out refusing to admit wrongdoing.
Which creates a reality distortion field. If I deny it with enough confidence, I never said that, you're making things up, you start to question your own memory. That is the seed of gaslighting.
Rationalization is another big one.
The excuse machine. I only yelled at you because I've had a stressful day at work. I cheated because you haven't been affectionate lately.
It's always someone else's fault.
It makes the bad behavior seem logical or inevitable. It shifts the blame from the perpetrator to the situation or to the victim.
In diversion. Steering the conversation away.
Why are we talking about what I did? Look at what you did 3 years ago.
Classic whataboutism.
It works because it takes the heat off the manipulator. Suddenly, you are defending yourself instead of holding them accountable. The conversation has been hijacked.
Now, Harriet B. Breaker has another list, focusing on the controller. And what stood out to me here was that she includes positive things. We usually think of manipulation as punishment, but she talks about positive reinforcement.
Yes. This is crucial. If I only punished you, you would eventually leave or fight back. So I have to keep you hooked.
The carrot and the stick.
Exactly. Breaker points out things like excessive apologizing, forced laughter, superficial charm.
Crocodile tears.
Superficial sympathy. It's faking an emotion to get a response.
Yeah.
But she also mentions negative reinforcement in a specific way, using relief as a reward.
Explain that. That seems counterintuitive.
This is the stop hitting you principle. If I am yelling at you, creating a high-stress environment, and then I stop yelling the moment you agree with me, that sudden silence, that relief you feel, that is a reward.
My brain goes, oh, thank God it stopped.
Exactly. And your brain learns a lesson. If I agree, the pain stops. I have reinforced your compliance by removing the pain. It's conditioning.
That is incredibly dark. It's like training an animal.
It is exactly like operant conditioning. It's Pavlovian.
She also lists the heavy hitters we've touched on. Gaslighting, emotional blackmail, guilt tripping.
Gaslighting is mentioned as a key tactic here. It's making the victim question their own reality. That didn't happen. You're crazy. You're imagining things.
It's an erosion of self.
It destabilizes the victim so much that they rely on the manipulator to tell them what is real.
Now, we've talked about the manipulator, but what about the target? Martin Cantor outlines a victim profile. Who is susceptible to this? Are some of us more prone to being played than others?
Cantor suggests that certain traits make you a magnet for this. Dependency, immaturity, being naive. That makes sense. If you're dependent, you can't leave.
But he also lists some traits we usually think of as good, like altruism.
This is the tragic part. If you are highly altruistic, you want to help. You want to see the best in people. A manipulator sees that desire to help not as a virtue, but as a handle they can grab.
A vulnerability.
Oh, you want to save me? Great, let me use that. The damsel in distress tactic works best on knight in shining armor.
Being trustworthy.
If you assume everyone is good, you won't see the knife coming. You will project your own goodness onto the manipulator. You'll think, I wouldn't do that, so they must not be doing that.
And interestingly, he mentions greed.
Yes. The con artist relies on the victim's greed. I can get you rich quick. If you weren't greedy, the manipulation wouldn't work.
So it's not just about being too nice.
You can't con an honest man, as the old saying goes, which isn't entirely true, but greed certainly opens the door.
So it's a mix of innocence and vice that can make you vulnerable.
Exactly. It's any intense desire or need that can be leveraged. If you need nothing, you are very hard to manipulate. If you are desperate for love, for money, for approval, you are an easy target.
Okay, so we know what it is and we know how it works. But how do psychologists actually measure this? You can't just look at someone and say, you score a 10 on the evil scale. Or can you?
Well, actually, they have tried to build scales exactly like that. We love to measure things in psychology.
Of course they have.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the MACHV.
Named after Niccolo Machiavelli, the Renaissance author of The Prince, who basically wrote the handbook on political manipulation. The ends justify the means.
So Machiavellianism is a construct of manipulativeness.
Correct. And the MACH4 is the standard tool to measure it. It asks questions to gauge your willingness to deceive and manipulate.
What kind of question?
It asks things like, is it better to be humble and honest or important and dishonest? Do you believe most people are good or that most people will cheat if given the chance?
And if you score high on the MACH4, what does that say about you?
It means you have a high agency, low communion style. You want to dominate, you want to win, and you don't care about connecting or communing with others. You view people as pawns on a board that you are playing.
Then there's the Dirty Dozen, which sounds like a Western movie.
It sounds cool, but it measures something very dark. It measures the dark triad.
The Dark Triad sounds like a supervillain group.
It kind of is. The dark triad consists of narcissism, entitlement, grandiosity, psychopathy, callousness, impulsivity, and Machiavellianism, strategic manipulation.
And the Dirty Dozen measures all three.
Yes, it's a concise 12-item test. It asks you to rate statements like, I tend to manipulate others to get my way. I tend to lack remorse. I tend to want others to admire me.
So if you take the Dirty Dozen and score high, you are essentially statistically likely to be a manipulator.
Yes. You likely lack empathy and view others as objects to be used. It's a quick and dirty way to spot these tendencies.
Now, there is a newer tool mentioned in the source from 2013 called the MEOS, the Managing the Emotions of Others scale.
This one provides a lot more nuance because, as we touched on earlier, managing emotions isn't always bad. It's not black and white.
Right. If my friend is sad and I tell a joke to cheer them up, I am technically managing their emotions. I am intervening.
Exactly. That is mood enhancement. It's pro-social. You are doing it for their benefit. You are trying to lift them up.
So the MEOS breaks it down into 6 categories. Mood enhancement is one. But then there is mood worsening.
This is the dark side. Why would you want to worsen someone's mood?
To make them feel small. To punish them.
To lower their confidence. To make them dependent. Or simply to punish them. The MEOS measures your capacity and willingness to do that. It asks you to rate things like, I sometimes sulk to make others feel bad.
It also measures concealing emotions and inauthenticity.
Inauthenticity is key. It links back to that wolf in sheep's clothing. If you score high on inauthenticity, you are good at faking it. You can smile when you are angry. You can cry when you are bored. You are an actor on a stage.
And the source makes a connection here to the Hexaco personality model.
Yes. High capacity for inauthenticity on the MEOS links to low honesty humility on the Hexaco. Basically, if you are good at faking emotions, you are likely not a very humble or honest person. You are comfortable wearing a mask.
It also mentions diversion, again, using distraction to enhance mood or avoid conflict.
Right. So this scale acknowledges that manipulation is a spectrum. Cheering someone up is on one end, gaslighting them is on the other. But they rely on similar mechanisms of emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
You need to understand emotions to fix them or to break them.
That is a spooky thought. That empathy, knowing how someone feels, is the prerequisite for manipulating them effectively. You have to understand the machine to break it.
You have to know where the strings are before you can pull them. A psychopath with high cognitive empathy, knowing what you feel, but low affective empathy, caring what you feel, is a very dangerous person.
This leads us perfectly into Section 5. We have to talk about the clinical side. Manipulation and mental disorders.
This is a heavy area. The source notes that manipulative behavior actually makes it really hard for psychiatrists to treat patients.
Why is that?
Because it triggers negative reactions in the therapist. If a patient is trying to manipulate the doctor, trying to get special treatment, trying to get specific drugs, or trying to guilt trip the therapist, it strains the therapeutic alliance. It's exhausting for the clinician. It creates a battlefield in the therapy room.
And this is often linked to cluster B disorders.
Cluster B is the dramatic, emotional, or erratic cluster in the DSM-5.
So let's look at antisocial personality disorder, ASPD.
This is what we often colloquially call sociopathy. In the DSM-5, the diagnostic manual, manipulation is an explicit criterion for ASPD.
So you literally have to be manipulative to be diagnosed with it.
Yes. It lists behaviors like using aliases, criminal fraud, and lying repeatedly for profit or pleasure. It is central to the disorder.
And psychopathy.
Psychopathy is a related syndrome, often measured by the Hare psychopathy checklist. It features pathological lying and superficial charm.
And manipulation for personal gain.
Always. And in the workplace, Paul Babiak, a researcher mentioned in the text, views manipulation as a core feature of how psychopaths operate in offices. They charm their way up and kick others down.
The snakes in suits.
That's the term. They look like leaders, but they are predators.
Then we have narcissistic personality disorder, NPD.
NPD is characterized by exhibitionism, a lack of empathy, and exploitative behavior.
The source used a phrase I loved, antagonistic self-protection.
That is a great phrase from the source. Their ego is incredibly fragile, like a balloon, so they protect it by attacking others. They manipulate to maintain their delusion of superiority. They need to win, they need to be the most beautiful or the most successful, and they will use people to get that validation. If you stop validating them, they discard you.
Now here is where it gets really interesting and nuanced. Borderline personality disorder, BPD. We often hear BPD associated with manipulation. Oh, she's borderline, she's manipulative. But the source makes a crucial distinction here.
This is a vital correction. Historically, BPD patients were labeled as manipulative by doctors who were frustrated with them.
Right.
But experts like Marsha Linehan, who developed dialectical behavior therapy, argue that this is a misunderstanding.
The source says BPD manipulation is often unintentional.
Right. It's labeled dysfunctional influence. When a person with BPD acts out, maybe making threats of self-harm or calling you 50 times in an hour, it's not a calculated plot like the psychopath. It is an unthinking manifestation of intense pain and fear of abandonment.
So they aren't trying to control you for gain. They are trying to stop their own suffering.
Exactly. They are emotional burn victims. They are drowning. And when you are drowning, you might grab onto the swimmer next to you and pull them down. It looks like an attack, but it's actually panic.
That is such a compassionate way to look at it. It changes how you respond.
It does. And because of that, the DSM-5 actually removed manipulation as a defining characteristic of BPD because intent matters.
Intent is everything.
The psychopath intends to use you. The person with BPD intends to survive. It's a world of difference.
That's a huge shift. One final disorder mentioned is factitious disorder.
This is the Munchausen syndrome type stuff.
Yes, faking illness. And this is a very strange form of manipulation. What is the goal?
To assume the sick role, they manipulate doctors and family members to get care, to get sympathy, or just for the thrill of deceiving high-status people like doctors.
So they aren't looking for money. They aren't trying to get out of work. They are looking for hospitalization.
They want the attention and the care that comes with being sick. It's a manipulation of the compassion of others. They are hijacking the human instinct to care for the weak.
Wow. From mining ore in the 1700s to faking illnesses in modern hospitals, we have covered a lot of ground today.
We really have. It's a massive landscape.
So let's try to summarize this deep dive, if we have to boil it down.
Okay, if we zoom out, manipulation is ancient. It evolved from handling physical objects to handling human beings. It is distinct from persuasion because it ignores your right to say no. It exploits your vulnerabilities rather than respecting your intellect.
It's intentional. It's the wolf in sheep's clothing.
It uses a toolkit ranging from charm to coercion, from the silent treatment to gaslighting, and it is linked to specific personality traits. Even the nice ones, like agreeableness, can be weaponized if the intent is control.
And while it's a hallmark of dangerous disorders like psychopathy, it can also be a misunderstood symptom of pain in conditions like BPD.
Correct. The intent is the key differentiator.
So for the listener who is thinking, okay, this is terrifying, how do I stop it? How do I not get played? The source mentions some counters.
The main defense, really the only solid defense, is awareness. Identifying the attempt. You have to name the beast.
You have to see the strings.
Once you can name the tactic, oh, that's diversion, you're changing the subject. Oh, that's a rationalization. That is a guilt trip. it loses its power.
It stops being invisible.
You can detach from the emotional hook and see the mechanism. It's like the magic trick is ruined once you know how the mirror works.
I like that.
Critical thinking and understanding these patterns are your shield. When you feel that FOG, fear, obligation, guilt, pause.
FOG, fear, obligation, guilt.
Yes. When you feel that, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to or because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't?
That is great advice. Pause. Check the FOG.
Precisely.
I want to leave everyone with a provocative thought, something that stuck with me from that Mio scale discussion.
What's that?
We talked about mood enhancement, being pro-social, cheering a friend up. But the line is so thin, isn't it?
It can be.
If I cheer you up because I genuinely care about you, that's empathy. But if I cheer you up because your sadness is annoying me, because it's ruining my vibe, and I want you to be fun again so I can have a good time, isn't that manipulation?
That is the uncomfortable question. At what point does being a people person cross the line into managing people for your own comfort?
It makes you rethink every interaction. Am I being kind? Or am I just optimizing my environment?
It certainly does. It requires a lot of honesty with yourself.
On that note, we will let you get back to your reality, hopefully one, where you are the one pulling your own strings.
Stay sharp out there.
See you next time on The Deep Dive.